Hey everybody, welcome back to the show. A lot of people don't think of the repercussions of what they do with social networking and online, but we have some great advice for you right now.
Absolutely. You should be tracking what your online reputation is and managing it, and that is why our next guest, Tony Wilson, is joining us. He is the author of Manage Your Online Reputation. He's a lawyer, he's a Globe and Mail columnist, and he has had first-hand experience with the downside of the new world that we live in. Tony, how are you, man?
I'm great.
So tell us the story. People would think, why would a lawyer like you be writing a book on social media and online reputations? But why don't you tell us your story?
Well, I'm a lawyer. I do a lot of franchising and licensing work and intellectual property work at Boughton in Vancouver. And make a long story short, I used to say it's a funny story. It's not really that funny. I discovered that my mother had died on Facebook. I wasn't on Facebook. I had no intention of getting on Facebook. I never thought I'd have the need for it. What's the point? But I was at a lacrosse game with my son about 2 years ago, and my daughter called from home and said, "You got to come home. You got to come home right away." She's in tears. She's totally upset. I drive from Surrey to New Westminster, where I live. I said, "What's wrong? Have you had a car accident? What's wrong?" She drags me over to our iMac and points out something on her Facebook page, and I didn't know where to look because I wasn't on it. And it was basically my niece in Calgary who had said, you know, "R.I.P. Grandma. I hope you're in a better place now."
Oh, totally.
Now, before you make judgments, that's always a really interesting story to begin, and that's how I began the book, which was chapter 1.
This is very much about perspectives, this story, too.
Well,
I guess,
you know, to be fair to her, she had no family in Calgary. Her niece who had discovered, her sister who had discovered my mom, was totally in tears in Victoria, phoned her sister in Calgary and said, "Oh my God, Grandma's dead, blah, blah, blah." And yeah, and from sort of a generational thing, I can see someone trying to communicate with their online family when their real family isn't around. And I get that.
And when we talk about repercussions, the domino effect of that is that's not how people want to find out news like that when they're in a family.
You'd think that she'd be a little more sensitive to her uncle who discovered the hard way about my mother dying.
Well, and this, I mean, this starts a conversation about a lot of different things. And one of them is I don't know if there's necessarily a place for willful ignorance when it comes to Facebook, Twitter, social media anymore. I mean, people really have to understand what it is, don't they?
They do. Somebody said to me the other day, "You can't fix stupid." I think you can. I think people just have to know that when they hit the send button or the post button, that not only their circle of friends or their network or whatever can see what they posted, other people can see it as well. The mistakes that are made on social media aren't mistakes made by 17-year-olds, although lots of 17-year-olds make a lot of mistakes.
Yeah.
There's the story of the PR executive out of New York City. He flies into Memphis, doesn't like Memphis. He tweets to his 200 followers and says something like, "What an awful place, I wouldn't want to live here." He didn't realize that 2 or 3 of his followers worked for FedEx.
Right.
FedEx head office was in Memphis, and they got him off the FedEx file. So people can make stupid mistakes like that. There was a story of an Israeli army soldier, and the army was going into the West Bank the next day on an operation. And he posted on his Facebook page, "We're in," I don't know what the town was, Kamala, we'll say, "Tomorrow, God willing, we'll be back." Well, some of his friends were his unit members who discovered the Facebook page, and it's like they had to call off the operation because everybody in the West Bank can now see where we're going tomorrow.
Well, let's talk about managing things, and let's start first of all with Facebook. If it were a country, I learned in your book, it would be the 3rd largest country in the world, and that is astounding. So that is something that you have to think about when you're putting things on Facebook. Let's start with the geolocating and places and people telling people when they're not at home. Maybe you can speak about that a little bit.
Can I look at the camera? Never do this.
never do this. But a lot of people don't realize that, I mean, when you get an iPhone, when you get, that option is usually enabled.
It's in the BlackBerry too.
For geolocation. You have to go in and turn it off.
Yeah, it's for photographs taken with some cameras, and certainly with cell phones, there can be latitude and longitude coordinates that are in the photograph. In the book, there's a story about the guy that's in Mythbusters. And he put something on Craigslist.
You'd think he'd know.
You'd think he'd know, but he makes this public because he's telling everybody about it. Someone had gotten the geolocated coordinates from the car that he put up for sale on Craigslist, and then drove to his house. There's the car, there's the house, all from the photograph that was posted on Craigslist.
And then all of a sudden, he's a public figure, and his address and home is public knowledge.
Absolutely, absolutely. But you know, that's people trying to make an example of a celebrity, and I'm sure the celebrity was happy that he did, because he learned something. It's when people are, you know, my family and I were off in Egypt in the summertime, and my kids wanted to post, oh, we've been to the pyramids today. I said, do not do this. That's like saying, come rob the house, it's totally empty.
We're out of the country.
So do not do this. And I don't like the fact that people say, using Places, or I think Foursquare or other programs, you know, I'm in this restaurant right now, or I'm shopping in this place right now. Because it's also, it's kind of an invasion of privacy. You know, I don't think people should tell everybody where they happen to be. Just by activating their cell phones. And again, it's this whole thing about, you know, come rob my house, I'm not home.
Yeah. Let's talk about when it comes to a corporate world as well, or even from a personal level. Understanding what is being said about you is becoming quite fundamentally important, whether you're someone trying to get a job, whether you're someone in our business, or whether you're a corporation. How can people actually manage this stuff? How do you know? Is it just like an ego search on Google, or?
Well, I quite commend ego searches on Google. I think everybody should do something as simple as Google Alerts.
Maybe explain what that is, because a lot of people don't know.
If you can go into Google, you can set Google to notify you, I think once an hour or once a day, anytime that Google in its search algorithms finds your name. And I do it to myself because I write for the Globe and Mail, and I write for Canadian Lawyer and Bar Talk and a few other publications. I want to see where those articles go, because sometimes they're picked up in various countries, and I don't know where they're picked up, but it's kind of interesting to see. But if you're concerned about your reputation and you've got a big profile online, you want to see what's being said by you,
the chatter,
and on you, and especially if you've got a company and a small business.
And it's so interesting to do that with a company or business, to get the Google Alerts, because you really are hearing what people are saying about you.
And you might be able to do something really good about it too. You might be able to respond to a criticism, which is, again, managing the reputation of your brand or of your company. Someone complains. There's a story about ICBC. Someone had had a car accident. They took it in to get fixed, and whoever was on Twitter complained about, you know, ICBC. ICBC monitors, I believe through Google Alerts, their brand, and the PR person at ICBC ended up contacting this individual and said, hi, I'm from ICBC. You didn't have a great experience. Can we help you fix it?
Right.
Can we do a better job?
And a lot of companies will do that.
He was shocked.
You won that customer. That's what you did.
I think you can turn these sort of public relations crises into public relations coups by doing a better job at servicing your customers, by improving your product, by improving your service, and that's a good thing that social media does.
Well, and at the very least, take the temperature. You know, understand what's on the horizon, because you can see these problems build, and you give lots of great examples in the book where companies, if they had a better idea of what was being said about them online, could have maybe stamped out some things that turned into raging infernos when they were just a little smoldering fire.
And the worst thing that people can do is jump to lawyers. I'm saying this as a lawyer. Don't always go to your...
You're a lawyer and you're telling people not to call lawyers? But there's a lot of other alternatives that make more sense before you take the legal route.
And it can backfire. There's a story in the book about somebody someone had made a criticism about their apartment building on Twitter. The landlord found out about it, big corporation, and they automatically launched a defamation suit against the poor tenant. And the public reaction against it was
so bad.
It backfired totally. So, you know, you don't necessarily want lawyers on this. You want, you know, good PR people, good crisis management people. All businesses should have some crisis management plan in effect in the event that they get some sort of a product meltdown, or, you know, I counsel clients all the time in having social media policies for their employees. Which is part of their employment.
That you sign on your contract.
Absolutely.
Can't talk about us.
Well, you can in certain circumstances, because you don't want to discourage people from talking about your business and if it's all good, but if they're going to disparage the business, you don't want them doing that.
Yeah.
Well, there's a ton of great advice in here. We're going to have to get you back to talk about more. You can pick up the book. It's Manage Your Online Reputation. Think about what you're putting out there, people.
I am so going to Twitter about this later. I'll tell you right now. Or you can read Tony's articles in the Globe and Mail and pick up his new book, Manage Your Online Reputation, once again at local bookstores.